Many of you may not know this, but I am a deep NFL insider. I know the vast majority of the league scouts and all of the general managers personally. And through those connections, I have compiled this 2024 mock draft that is 100% guaranteed to be completely accurate. Forget the rest, this is the best. Please subscribe to the channel, thank you. Because the Carolina Panthers are a complete dumpster fire, the Chicago Bears have the #1 overall pick. And 3 entire seasons after drafting their franchise savior, the Bears are now drafting their franchise savior in USC quarterback Caleb Williams. I mean, this is the most obvious pick ever, Bears GM Ryan Poles said. Quarterback is the most important position in all of sports, probably in all of human history. So we've solidified this position for the next 40 to 50 years in this young man. Williams is thought to be a once-in-a-generation player, and as a once-in-a-generation player, he naturally compares to Patrick Mahomes. The Washington insert names here are up next, and they rush to the podium to select quarterback Jayden Daniels out of LSU. Washington GM Adam Peters was very enthusiastic and had this to say: Jayden Daniels is going to be the most important player in our franchise history. So important, in fact, that when he is up for a new contract, we will be releasing our entire team so that he can receive 100% of our salary cap. Who needs those other guys anyway? Quarterback is the most important position in sports, and they win games completely by themselves. I predict that we will win 15 Super Bowls in the next 12 seasons. Daniels is thought to be a once-in-a-generation player, and as a once-in-a-generation player, he naturally compares to Patrick Mahomes. The new-turd England Patriots are now on the clock, and given the rich and storied history of quarterbacks from North Carolina, they select Drake May. Director of Player Personnel Matt Groh defended the pick, saying, "It's hella fun to draft quarterbacks in the first round. Every team should do it. In fact, I'm bummed we haven't done so in each of the past 2 seasons. We'll be back next season with another one." As a member of the New England Patriots, May's comparison is super obvious. The best quarterback the Patriots have ever seen. Dan Marino, who the Patriots faced twice a year for 17 seasons. Oh my goodness, we have a trade alert. The Minnesota Vikings have moved into the 4th spot formerly owned by the Arizona Cardinals. Details of the actual trade are forthcoming, but with the 4th pick, they select quarterback Michael Penix out of Washington. In between the several champagne showers given to him by members of the organization, GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah stated that he couldn't be happier, saying, "A franchise quarterback is worth whatever the price you pay for him." At least that's what all the experts on TV say. And it was very important for us to keep this young man in a purple uniform. He sure looks great. Penix compares favorably to Joe Montana, even though he's left-handed. Here now are the details of this trade. Of course, the Vikings received the 4th pick. We suspect the Cardinals will be getting back at least the 11th and 23rd picks. Yes, they did, and it appears as though they have received the rest of Minnesota's draft this season too. Oh, it looks like their entire 2025 draft was also included. That is a lot, but oh my, their entire 2026 draft is also a part of this trade. That might deplete some... Wait, some players were also included. Yes, the Cardinals will acquire wide receiver Justin Jefferson, tight end TJ Hawkinson, tackle Christian Darrisaw, and newly acquired edge rusher Jonathan Grenard. Well, those guys aren't quarterbacks, so they don't matter. And now, in an unprecedented move, the Vikings are also trading the Cardinals some of their history, including Randy Moss, Alan Page, Joey Browner, head coach Bud Grant, and is that their stadium? Yeah, the Vikings have included US Bank Stadium in this deal as well. Incredible. They won't have a stadium to play in, but at least they've got their quarterback. Okay, back to it. The Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock, and with the 5th pick, They're taking Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Chargers GM Joe Horitz stepped up to the podium to explain the pick, but he was quickly hip-checked out of the way by head coach Jim Harbaugh. After hitting Horitz with a kendo stick and a steel chair, Harbaugh ripped open his shirt, cupped his hand to his ear, and grabbed the microphone. Justin Herbert ain't won nothing. You saw us in Michigan last season. J.J. McCarthy single-handedly won the national championship, and he's gonna do it again in the NFL. What you gonna do? J.J. McCarthy's obvious comp is Jim Harbaugh himself, a former NFL quarterback. Except that McCarthy will definitely be going to the Hall of Fame, very likely immediately after his rookie season. The New York Giants are up at number 6, and they are thrilled with the outcome so far, as they're now able to take their number 1 targets. Quarterback Arch Manning out of the University of Texas. Senior Vice President and GM Joe Schoen had this to say. The New York Giants have won 4 Super Bowls, and all 4 of them were because of Eli Manning, so it was very important for us to get another Manning in the building, even though he isn't technically draft eligible. When informed by the gathered press that Eli was 6 and 10 years old when the Giants won their first 2 Super Bowls, Schoen gave him the credit anyway, saying his impending spirit carried those teams to victory. But, of course, Arch Manning's pro comp is Peyton Manning, the only actually good football player to ever come out of the Manning family. We've arrived at the Tennessee Titans with pick number 7, and they will select University of Kentucky quarterback Devin Leary. Titans GM Rand Carthon shushed all the screaming reporters around him by saying, "It's obvious that the best way to build a Super Bowl champion is to draft as many quarterbacks out of Kentucky as possible. We started that process with Will Levis, and he was spectacular. We will be doing the same thing again next season, as soon as I can find out who Tim Couch's agent is." Devin Leary may be right-handed, but his obvious comp is Steve Young. I mean, duh. The Atlanta Falcons have oft been criticized for never drafting any University of Georgia players and letting all of them go to Philadelphia. So with this pick, they will select Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett, who can only be compared to Superman for putting an entire team of losers and sorry excuses for football players on his back and winning back-to-back national championships. We're now ready for the 9th pick, but we have some late-breaking news. It appears as though Stetson Bennett was actually drafted last season and is a current member of the Los Angeles Rams. Who knew? After the Rams set off an angry tweet on the matter and began a very expensive negative campaign against Atlanta, the Falcons must now rescind that pick and are now back on the clock. Not knowing what to do, they select another Georgia quarterback, Darren Granger out of Georgia State. Falcons GM Terry Fontenot saves face by correctly indicating that Georgia State is located in Atlanta, Georgia, was founded in 1913, and has 50,521 students as of the fall of 2023. Oh, by the way, Granger's comp is Drew Brees, but he should end his career with more passing yards. After taking Caleb Williams first overall, the Chicago Bears are back on the clock, and with the 9th pick, they take quarterback DJ Lagway, a top high school recruit and future member of the Florida Gators. With a smile from ear to ear, GM Ryan Poles said, "We're extremely excited at the prospect of trading Caleb Williams for a future 6th round pick 3 years from now. And when that happens, DJ Lagway will be ready to step in and provide us with the mediocrity and teases of potential that our wonderful fans have come to expect." Lagway still compares favorably to Joe Montana, because of course he does. The New York Jets are on the clock, and given how enamored they are of a quarterback's ability to fluctuate between having long and short hair, they immediately grab Sam Hartman out of Notre Dame. When asked about the pick, current Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers made a vague reference to setting Hartman's house on fire before menacingly waving a pair of scissors into the air. Hartman's pro comp is Aaron Rodgers. The Arizona Cardinals are now on the clock at number 11 with one of the 319 picks they acquired from the Minnesota Vikings, and they cannot believe their luck. GM Monty Ossenfort trips several times while running to the podium to select quarterback Bo Nix out of Oregon. So enamored is Ossenfort with Nix that he immediately announces that the Cardinals are moving the team to Oregon effective immediately, thus becoming the Oregon Cardinals. In fact, under the threat of legal action and some photos that may or may not include Marissa Tomei, Roger Goodell is forced back onto the stage to announce the pick again with the team's new name. Coming out of Oregon, Bo Nix is clearly the exact same player that Dan Fouts is. The league's most hilarious team, the Denver Broncos, come up at number 12, and they select South Carolina quarterback Spencer Rattler. GM George Paton is over the moon. He said, "When I watched my first ever mock draft on YouTube 3 years ago, and that one kid with the sideshow bob hair and hipster glasses said that he was mocking Spencer Rattler as the number 1 pick in the draft, I knew we had to get this kid. He's been the number 1 player on my board ever since, and now he's a Bronco. I may be married with 2 children, but this is truly the happiest day of my life." I mean, come on now, he's going to Denver. Who else but John Elway was going to be Spencer Rattler's comp? The Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock at pick number 13, but before the pick can be made, Raiders GM Tom Telesco went on a 45-minute rant about how he was watching the exact same YouTube video at the exact same time as George Paton and was all set to take Spencer Rattler with his pick, but now he can't. After some mentions about the neighbor's dog and lunchtime detention and some other interesting notes from his past, he finally makes his pick, going with the next best Spencer he could find, quarterback Spencer Sanders out of Oklahoma State. It's pretty obvious that Sanders will also be compared to John Elway. The New Orleans Saints were quite steamed when the Giants selected Arch Manning, as they also wanted to extend their association to the wilting branches of the Manning tree, no matter how bad it went for them before. So they decided to go right to the source. With the 14th pick, they have selected both Marshall and Mosley Manning, fraternal twin children to Peyton Manning, currently believed to be in the 7th grade. When asked why he selected both children, Saints Executive Vice President and General Manager Mickey Loomis said, "Well, we can't be so sure which of the two will be the true heir to Peyton Manning's talent. Once we find out which one it is, we'll be trading the other one to the Minnesota Vikings. We figure they'll offer the entire city of Minneapolis, although who really wants that?" The Twins naturally have their papa as their pro comp. Once that last pick was made, a loud string of expletives were heard throughout the entire city of Detroit, most of the state of Michigan, and in certain parts of Canada, especially in the Yukon. That was coming from Indianapolis Colts GM Chris Ballard, who had his heart set on the Manning twins. In his anger and through gasps of tears, he selected Talia Tagovailoa out of Maryland. After taking the better part of 3 months to calm down and finally meet with the media, he said the Tagovailoas are the true quarterbacking dynasty anyway. The Mannings suck. He then agreed, though, that Tagovailoa's pro comp is, indeed, Peyton Manning. At number 16, the Seattle Seahawks take the guy they had at the top of their board, quarterback Davis Brin out of Georgia Southern. When asked why he was the top player, Seahawks general manager, executive vice president, president of football operations, Queen of the Andals, Mother of Dragons, Khaleesi of the Great Grassy, and Breaker of Chains John Schneider angrily responded, "Don't you look at the stats? This kid led all of Division I with the most interceptions. This is the Seattle Seahawks. We love nothing more than a quarterback who will throw an interception, especially at the goal line when our other option was, winning the Super Bowl." Davis Brin's pro comparison is Russell Wilson, but taller, of course. We've entered the second half of the draft, and unlike the Jets before them, the Jaguars like quarterbacks with only long hair, so they made sure to grab Cincinnati's Emory Jones at number 17. Jaguars GM Trent Baalke is said to believe that he is Trevor Lawrence reincarnated, but he will neither confirm nor deny that report. No one quite knows who Jones's pro comp is, so a name was pulled out of a hat, and it turns out that his comp is actually Brett Favre. The experts, especially those who text on live television while other people are talking, said they knew that to be true all along. Looking to get back to the playoffs, the Cincinnati Bengals take quarterback Aaron Noland at number 18, high schooler and Ohio State recruit. Duke Tobin, Cincinnati's director of player personnel but not the general manager, said the pick makes perfect sense. Look, it's pretty obvious that this kid is gonna transfer, and we do our best work with quarterbacks that transfer from Ohio State. If he goes to LSU, even better. We're getting him now because our owner doesn't want to pay a signing bonus this season because, well, because he's really, really cheap. With a name like Aaron Noland, his pro comp can only be Michael Jordan, as in the Chicago Bulls' Michael Jordan, who played basketball, which 100% absolutely makes perfect sense. Still angry at the Falcons and looking to make a point, the Los Angeles Rams announced Darren Granger as their pick at number 19. This marked the end of the $785 million campaign the Rams waged in an attempt to sully the Falcons' name. Realizing that they are now out of money as a franchise, they go local with the actual pick, taking San Diego State quarterback Jalen Mayden under the expectation that bringing him up the road to Los Angeles won't cost much. It was only after the draft that the Rams found out that Mayden is actually from Texas. His pro comp is Norm Van Brocklin, someone the Rams fans in Los Angeles have never heard of. None of them. None of the 13 have heard of him. For the second time in 2 seasons, the Steelers own the 20th pick in the draft, and for the second time, they have selected a quarterback, this time Jordan Travis out of Florida State University. But Steelers GM Omar Khan looked a little bit down, and when asked why, he said, "Well, we drafted Kenny Pickett because he had the smallest hands at the combine. Jordan Travis did too, but he was only tied for the smallest hands, and they're bigger than Kenny's. So we're not entirely sure that his level of play will be as good. Guess we just gotta wait and see." With his prodigious hand size, Jordan Travis's pro comp is Andre the Giant. 41 years after benefiting from Pitt Panthers quarterback Dan Marino falling into their laps, the Dolphins used the 21st pick in this draft to grab another Pitt quarterback, Phil Dracovic. Dolphins GM Chris Grier almost failed to make the pick in time, saying, "When we had the 21st pick last season, the NFL took it away. I just figured they would do the same this season." I guess they never found out that we were tampering with the New York Giants to get Phil Simms on our team. Man, that guy is a winner. Drakovic's comp may come as a surprise to many. It's Dan Marino. Come on, man, you can't expect us not to be super lazy about these things. The Philadelphia Eagles have the 22nd pick, and what a heartwarming story this is. The city of brotherly love selects one of their own, Northern Illinois quarterback Rocky Lombardi. Eagles general manager Howie Roseman said he couldn't pass up the opportunity to bring Rocky back to Philadelphia, adding, "We've already got a statue of the guy. Plus he changed his last name to Lombardi, just like Vince Lombardi. We're going to be the first ever Super Bowl heavyweight champions of the world." In a massive twist though, Lombardi's pro comp is actually Apollo Creed. The Oregon Cardinals are back on the clock at number 23, and in their full embrace of all things Oregon, they select Southern Oregon quarterback Matt Struck. Monty Ossenfort exclaimed, "We need to prove that we are for all Oregonians. The people of Oregon." Matt Struck's pro comp is Dan Fouts. You can never have too many Dan Foutses. Jared Jones and the Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock, and with the 24th pick from the University of Pennsylvania, the Cowboys select quarterback Donald Trump. Jones had this to say, "Before you ask, there's nothing more important to this franchise than for people to talk about us. And ain't nobody on God's green earth get talked about more than this fella. So he was clearly born to be a Dallas Cowboy." Trump's pro comp is Ronald Reagan. Well, almost. The Green Bay Packers give us the draft's first curveball, yes, the very first, by taking a young man by the name of Wilson Duke, currently in the 4th grade. It is believed the boy's name may also be Duke Wilson, as the Packers aren't sure. They are nonetheless enamored by his name, with the NFL's official football made by Wilson and nicknamed the Duke. It's truly remarkable. It may be that Mr. Duke, or Mr. Wilson, doesn't have a right foot, but that also may be the product of bad photo editing. Anyway, Packers GM Brian Gutekunst said, "We have to remain prepared as a franchise, and it is evident that in about 13 years, we will be trading Jordan Love to the New York Jets. And when we do, this kid will have 13 years to have learned our system, and by that point, he ought to be ready to go." The pro comp here is Johnny Unitas, because the kid might be from Baltimore, or be a Colts fan, or live somewhere in the Western Hemisphere. At number 26, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers keep it real simple by taking quarterback Zach Calzada out of the University of Incarnate Word. Yes, that is a real school with an actual football team. GM Jason Light said, "This kid's got a Florida look with a Florida name. That's what wins Super Bowl, folks." Alrighty then. Calzada compares most favorably to the undisputed greatest player in Bucs franchise history, linebacker Derrick Brooks. You thought it was someone else, didn't you? The Oregon Cardinals are once again on the clock at number 27, and after realizing that Oregon has lots of pretty trees but also includes the city of Portland, GM Monty Ossenfort goes with high school recruit and Nebraska Cornhusker quarterback Dylan Raiola, with the intent of moving the Cardinals to Nebraska. Of the newly named Nebraska Cardinals, Ossenfort stated, "Don't you guys know that Nebraska won 3 national championships in 4 seasons? And they did it by airing the ball out about 70 times per game. It's only when they changed things up and started doing stupid things like running the ball that they stopped winning. We're bringing back the Nebraska tradition, and next season, we're going to have a roster of 53 quarterbacks, which is going to make us unstoppable." Raiola's pro comp was going to be his father, but Ossenfort insisted that it must be Scott Frost, whom he called the most aerially prolific quarterback in the history of the solar system. Constantly knocking on the door but unable to break through, the Buffalo Bills go back to the well and select Wyoming quarterback Andrew Peasley at number 28. Current quarterback and former Wyoming star Josh Allen approved of the pick, providing a 2.5-hour-long PowerPoint presentation on the benefits of playing quarterback for Wyoming. Oddly enough, though, he spent 2 of those hours extolling the virtues of the team's logo. And hey, that is one killer logo. Andrew Peasley's pro comp is Lamar Jackson for obvious reasons. Damn, don't you people do your homework on these prospects? The probably should have been Super Bowl 58 champion Detroit Lions make their pick at number 29. And in front of their adoring fans, they select quarterback Joe Milton out of Tennessee, reuniting him with Hendon Hooker. Lions GM and EVP Brad Holmes said, "We believe these two can have a stirring competition to see who our quarterback of the future is. And the best part, whoever doesn't win out, we can just trade to the Vikings." Milton's overwhelming skill and talent in every facet of the game allows for only one possible comp: Bugs Bunny. Tired of coming up short in the playoffs, the Ravens decide to invest in a Baltimore legend with a championship pedigree by selecting quarterback Cal Ripken III. When informed that Cal Ripken III might not be an actual person, and that the person in this picture is actually Billy Ripken, Ravens EVP and GM Eric DaCosta answered, "You know, the team played hard today, gave it all they got. Everybody stuck together, we practiced what we preached, we respect the other team, they've got a great team, and you know, we played hard today, gave it all we got." Okay then, Cal Ripken III, if he is a real person, most resembles Brooks Robinson out there, because Brooks was so good that at times he didn't seem like a real person either. Professional Super Bowl runners-up and blowers of double-digit leads, the San Francisco 49ers used the 31st pick on quarterback Theo Day out of Northern Iowa. Kyle Lynch, or is it John Shanahan, who knows, they share a single brain between them, said, "With this offense, we could have drafted the pool boy, and he'd come in here and be an MVP candidate and make Ron Jaworski wet himself. That guy we got now, what's his name, Brock Lesnar or whatever, he came out of Northern Iowa too, and see how that worked out." When informed that his name was Brock Purdy and that he came from Iowa State, John Kyle Lynch Shanahan got angry and yelled, "It doesn't matter, we're gonna lose in the Super Bowl anyway." Theo Day's pro comp is every 49er quarterback ever combined into one giant Mecha Streisand. And finally, closing out the first round are the Kansas City Chiefs. In the middle of their talking about winning the next 92 Super Bowls, they take the time to draft quarterback JT Daniels, who has played for every college football team in America, most of the teams in Canada, and even a few in Papua New Guinea. When the Kansas City media asked Brett Veach if he knew that Daniels has actually retired from the game, he responded, "I still like him more than Blaine Gabbert, and we won a Super Bowl with that guy. In fact, he's won 2 Super Bowls. That's what it's all about, you know? It's about winning Super Bowls. And because quarterback is the most important position in the history of time and space, and because Blaine Gabbert has won 2 Super Bowls, then we're gonna ride with JT Daniels. Because quarterbacks." Daniels is thought to be a once-in-a-generation player, and as a once-in-a-generation player, he naturally compares to Patrick Mahomes. What do you know, we've got 3 different Patrick Mahomeses just in this draft. That's it. That's my mock draft. Guaranteed to be right on the money, no questions asked, 100% accurate. Like, share, and subscribe, unless I ruined football for you, that is. Thank you for watching.